Good evening, gentlemen. Somebody on the ACKS Discord was asking about playing solitaire. Well, ACKS. Uh, so I'm just posting this so I don't have to like spam a bunch of photos up there of my book. So this is the record book thing. This is a new game that I just started. Well, I started it like a month ago, and I haven't played it since then. But anyway, only 2 days have passed in the game. But I print out a calendar, and that goes in the front. And then since I'm using the Wilderlands of High Fantasy, I write down the numbers of every hex that is keyed with something on the map that I'm using. This is just the Rogaloo with the city state of the Invincible Overload on it, the usual map. And then when you move into a hex, you can look at this list and see whether you need to reference the book and look up the key or not. And then after that is a section for the towns that the party has gone through so far. And so I rate the name of the town and its market class and its population. Of note, the Necromancer Games version of Wonderlands of High Fantasy is for 3.5. And they track population numbers differently, so to make it jive with ACKS, you've got to multiply the listed population numbers by 2. Anyway, the tech level on the alignment of the town, as far as like it uses AD&D alignment rather than BX alignment. And then a list of the notable people in the town and what they do and what their deal is. And then the places that you can go in the town, and a list of things that things that are going on in the vicinity of the town that might lead to different adventuresome things. And so we've got that for several different towns here, right? And then the next section, I've got this henchman generation chart. It's like a modification of the way ACKS does it, so that you can generate henchmen by class rarity and stuff like that. And that helps to build different tables for different areas, because like if you're in Thunderhold or something, you're gonna have a lot more dwarves than if you're in a human area or something, right? So that's what the deal with that is. And then some stupid house rules that you don't care about. And then here's all the in the next section. Dividers are good, you know what I'm saying. In the next section is all of the spreadsheets and stuff. So this is just a log of the party fund, and then I keep track of the upkeep costs of the entire party, so that when the first of the month rolls around, they can just pay it out of the party fund and stuff, right? It makes bookkeeping a little easier. The combat stats of everybody in the party, including the henchmen, everything, including everything that's in the party, including the animals and the carts and stuff like that. And then we get onto the character sheets, bloody blue, right, and the mounts, and the doges, and stuff, blah blah, and what's on the carts, and the encumbrance of the carts, spreadsheets, and then that's it. Here's a thing to some extra stuff for forms and shit, right? So yeah, that's that. And then this book here, I think, yes, this is the adventure log. So we've got the adventure set up, and then each day, we keep track of what's going on. Like this has only gone on for a couple of days, and then they set out, and by that time it was midnight, and I decided to continue later, and I haven't yet. So that's because I'm a slacker. Yes. So, I've got a list of the daily rations that are required for everybody. Don't forget the rations required for the animals, because if you're in the wilderness and you're not staying at an inn somewhere where you can stable the animals, then you've got to haul feed for them too, unless you want to waste time letting them feast upon the grasses and things. And then just scratch paper and shit. That's all that there is here. And then there's a bunch of notes and more graph paper, and yeah, that's all that's in there, because this is a relatively new game. Now in this binder down here is another game that went a little longer, but I didn't like how it was going and started over. So a bunch of stuff here. We wanted to see the this. You wanted to see the log. The log. Where is the log? Ah, yes, the log. So it's about the same. It's about the same as the other log, but there is some combat in this one somewhere. I thought there was. Yeah. So this is a combat log right here. Now, after I like kind of sort of rebooted this, it wasn't really a reboot per se, but they went back to Thunderhold, and then I kind of started over from the beginning with the same characters again because I didn't like the way I was doing some things. I stopped making detailed combat logs like this because I started using a VTT to move the tokens and stuff around because it's just so much easier that way. You know what I mean? So in the new logs there isn't all of this stuff. But yeah, that's the solitaire game stuff that I've been doing, and I've got there's another one, a longer one back here somewhere too. I had a really long Beyond the Wall solitaire game, but the journal for it's in another book somewhere. But it used a lot of the same tools as I'm using for ACKS. So I just use ACKS. I use that's just the Dodge's screen. That's the system compatibility guy. That's a psionics thing. But I haven't used it yet. Yes, the Treasury of Archaic Names from Judge's Guild. That's always great when you're randomly generating dudes. Wilderness Hexplore is what I use for wilderness. Oh, focus, you son of a. Is what I use for wilderness generation, and it's basically a cleaned up version of the Ready Ref sheets. In fact, it's like a copy. This can't be legal, right? But it's available on the internet various places. You know what I'm saying? So what I mostly use this for are the runes and relics and stuff tables. So this generates some really cool like stuff to find in hexes, right? Because otherwise it's just like, oh, you've encountered a field full of honeysuckle or something, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it generates all these cool runs and like gonzo ancient shit and stuff like that because, you know, it's the Wilderlands and it had a technological past and there are all these old like technological things buried deep underground and stuff, right? So yeah, this is the main part of this that I use, but I don't generate random terrain with Wilderness Explore. I use the Wilderlands of High Fantasy, the Necromancer Games version of it, and it has maps, big maps. This is a printout because so it has cool maps, right? Oh wait, that's Ardenville, that's not the Wilderland. That's the wrong folder. Shite. Ay. No, I'm not like shooting smack. That's ivermectin back there. Don't worry, gents. It's for shooting into my coffee. Where are my Wilderlands maps? Here, yeah. So we've got like big maps, right? They come with the books. And unfortunately, there's no way to obtain a legal copy of this anywhere anymore, other than paying like hundreds of dollars on eBay. But this is a really cool version of the Wilderlands because it's organized very well, and it has keyed hexes and stuff like that, and all the towns are described and stuff like that, right? So you can just kind of hex crawl all over the place, and when there's a keyed hex, there's like interesting, unique stuff, and you can generate stuff with Hexplore otherwise. And the random encounters themselves, I just use the ones out of ACKS, but when I roll a terrain encounter, I roll on this little table right here, and that can possibly send us to various tables in the Tome of Adventure Designer, this book here, Untold Encounters, or some of the tables in Wilderness Explore, to generate I almost said more interesting, but that's not necessarily the case, but different like layers and dungeon entrances and stuff like that, because ACKS generates those too, right? But more variety is always good for the verisimilitude and stuff, right? Right. So that's the wilderness exploration thing right there. And then when we get into the dungeons, I use central casting dungeons and Appendix A out of the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide. And so what I've done is I've taken Appendix A and spliced it in to central casting dungeons in a way that so Appendix A generates the corridors, because I don't like the way that central casting dungeons generates corridors. The Appendix A corridors just feel more like 70s to me, you know what I'm saying? Get the, like gonzo 70s D&D shit going on, right? And then when you roll rooms and stuff, then we get back over to the stuff that's in central casting dungeons. And central casting dungeons generates all sorts of different, like, very interesting dungeon rooms that aren't just like a hole in the ground with monsters and loot in them, you know what I'm saying? And it also can generate themed dungeons, you know, like there are like tomb dungeons and like dungeons and like stuff like that, right? So yeah, that's what I use for generating random dungeon roonies. Appendix A is based, and yeah, that's the stuff. Is there anything I forgot here? What the? Oh, that's a bunch of real-life cave maps from around here. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, this is actually a 5e book. It says, but it's very like system neutral. But it generates interesting, like, very different encounters, you know, like this is where the very strange, like, things come in, you know what I'm saying? It's just, they're very, I don't know, it's just cool, okay? Take my word for it. And then Tome of Adventure Design has a bunch of stuff in it. Like, it's just a big book of tables for all sorts of different stuff. And I mostly use this for special wilderness terrain encounters, but there's all sorts of different stuff in here. This is a pretty good book. But I think the most important thing when trying to play solitaire, any game, not just ACKS, is to make sure that you don't have too much shit going on at the same time. Like when we're just hex crawling, right? We've got this book and an axe out on the desk, and the desk is a lot cleaner than it is right now at the same time, right? And then when you go in a dungeon, this stuff goes away, and Central Casting Dungeons comes out, and then those books only come off of the shelf, you know, when a special encounter is called for. So it you know, on a desk this size, when you're using a VTT over here on the screen to track your combats and stuff, you can get everything on the table pretty well. You know what I mean? It gets a little crowded with all the different binders and stuff. You got two binders open at the same time because I keep the character sheets in one and then the adventure log in the other, because that keeps you from having to flip back and forth all the time. And I think that works pretty well, but maybe I'm a crazy person. Anyway, that is all. Goodbye.